My name is Dr. Ted Brown. I want to welcome you to the Cafe Evergreen. I'm going to be your waiter this morning. If there's anything, I'm already getting orders. Okay. I feel right at home there. If there's anything I can do to help you to have an enjoyable morning with us, please let me know. I'm going to show a few slides along my part of the presentation of the Dungeness Spit. Not the prettiest name, but it's a beautiful place in the Olympic Peninsula. It's about 5 miles long, and you can walk out on this little narrow spit to a lighthouse there. If you have a chance to get up, it's between Sequim and Port Angeles. Really a pretty place to go. That was my slide to thank the National MS Society. They are our partner in sponsoring this morning, getting out the word about our program and all the other local programs. A great organization. Their mission is to bring a cure to MS, which means treatments to arrest the progression of the disease, to prevent people from getting the disease, and to promote recovery of function of what has been lost from the disease. They also really do a lot of important support of research. And I'll be mentioning some studies that have been funded by the National MS Society, and they prioritize bringing people together, whether it's in person or teleconferences or online. They've got some great publications, and we have some publications from them that are relevant to our topic this morning, nutrition, over on the table there, so please take advantage of that. I want to thank Kim, who is a volunteer from the National MS Society, for being with us this morning to help register people. And we appreciate your registering so that if we keep doing this program every year, we'd like to be able to let people know about our program and send you an email. So the National MS Society also, they just want to be engaged with you. So please give them a call. And I think that their phone number is over there. There's 1-800-FIGHT-MS is the one that I remember for contacting the National MS Society. We want to thank our sponsors today from the pharmaceutical industry. Without their help, we probably couldn't do this program. We have Alicia from Accorda and Mike from Novartis there. And we have Kimia and Diana from Genzyme, and Jeff and Pilar from Teva. So during the break or after, if you have a chance to talk with them, they have a lot of information. They'd be very happy to speak with you. A few words about Evergreen. So we're a community hospital. We have a MS Center. That's our website. If you wanted to look at those videos that have come before, just go there and you'll see a link to education. And we have a comprehensive MS Center. We do have an active research program, strong rehabilitation department, and free parking, at least for now. Who knows what happens with this Totem Lake build-out that's going on, but we're hoping that it's going to be as it is. My partner there for 9 years is Dr. Virginia Timnat. She's the head of our neurology program at the MS Center, and we have MS nurses. This is Lorian Friedman. She's doing a fact-finding mission in England right now, so she couldn't join us, but she really put this program together. And then Melissa Gilbert is a strong member of our rehabilitation program. Melissa is with us this morning. And if you don't mind, I just would like us to give a hand to Melissa and Lorian for putting this program together, and to Kim from the MS Society for being here, and for our sponsors as well. So MS research, the last couple of years I've been showing this slide saying how many studies are going on in the world, and I go to clinicaltrials.gov to get that information. And this year I thought, rather than including all of the MS studies, many of which are inactive, I would just list the ones that are active and currently enrolling. So there's almost 400 studies like that in the world. About half of them are going on in the United States, and there's about 30 or more that are going on in the Seattle area. So there's a great amount of research going. We're doing a lot of research at Evergreen. One thing that we're finding kind of across the country is one of the challenges is recruitment. We come up with great studies, and then we have to do a great job enrolling to make the studies succeed. So I do want to just mention the studies that we're doing. And if anyone's interested, we have some information about our research program over there, I believe. Or you could ask me at the break if there's a study that you're interested in. So first one I want to mention, these are just our enrolling studies. is a clinical trial of an oral medication, one of the approved drugs, versus a B-cell depleting drug, not the one ocrelizumab that was just approved, but one with the same mechanism that's an injectable once-a-month subcutaneous drug. Then we have a study of the gut microbiome and how that might be affected by one of the oral medications, dimethyl fumarate. So people who are going on that medication would provide a stool sample to see what the gut microbiome looks like, and then we follow that over 6 months while they're on the drug. We're also studying trying to reduce these sort of injection reactions. We've done a couple of studies, and the current one is using hot and cold application to see if we can reduce injection reactions. We have a study of improving bladder control for overactive bladder involving a oral medication and behavioral changes. And then we have a laughter therapy study. We're going to be starting that next month. For laughter therapy, we're just looking for people with neurological diseases of the central nervous system. You do not have to have MS per se, but you have to have a neurological condition. It's 8 sessions of laughter therapy, and it's really exciting. We're on the last stage of this. We've had 2 other courses, and this is the 3rd course, and we're looking to see does it improve depression and anxiety. Our latest study that just started a few months ago is called DREAM, and it's an insomnia treatment. It is an oral approved medication that hasn't been studied in multiple sclerosis, and it's a placebo-controlled trial, 5 weeks long, and there's a lot of insomnia out there inside and outside of MS, and we're hoping that this might be an effective and safe treatment for that. What about MS drugs? You can see how the progress has been going, and the kettle is boiling right now with all these new medications. There are 15 approved drugs now. Within the next year, we expect that there'll be at least 1 other oral medication that's approved, maybe 2, and there might be some generic forms of oral medications and injectable medications coming online, which should eventually help to bring down the cost of MS drugs. There's a lot of exciting work in neuroprotection. One of the most important areas in multiple sclerosis that we start having things that can preserve brain function, preserve brain volume, and possibly restore neurological function as well. Just very quickly, anti-LINGO is a monoclonal antibody that is involved in signaling within the brain and might promote neural recovery. Biotin, you might have heard about, that's a supplement that's being studied in the phase 3 for neuroprotective or even neural recovery benefits. Phenytoin or dilantin is an anticonvulsant that showed in one study an effect on optic neuritis, and that's going to be further studied. Alpha-lipoic acid is a fatty acid compound that Oregon Health Science University is going to be doing another study on. There's a phase 2 which showed some benefits on brain atrophy. Simvastatin is a cholesterol-lowering drug. That's in phase 3 getting underway, very promising, being done in the United Kingdom to see if that controls brain atrophy. Ibutylast is a drug with some cardiovascular effects, which was studied and seemed to have an effect on brain atrophy, and we're expecting results of an important phase 2 study very soon, within the next 2 months. And then there's a remyelinating antibody study that's in phase 2 now. That is something that we would love to see something like this that actually promotes remyelination, but still a long ways to go. Within MS, there's a new priority on wellness. It's not just about drugs. We all recognize that now. We've got to take care of wellness. The definition of wellness, well, the WHO says it's a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease. The steps to wellness in MS, I think there's a consensus that we want people to be taking their meds. If they're being prescribed, we want them to be taken as prescribed. Not everyone may need MS drugs, but most patients with MS, we think there is a role for MS drugs and symptomatic treatments. Vitamin D, certainly in the Northwest, is something that most of our patients are going to need supplementation. We don't want people to be vitamin D deficient. Exercise is key, maybe should be at the top of the list. Everybody with MS and everyone without MS needs exercise. Emotional wellness, you've got to be able to deal with the stresses of life and the stressful things, the annoying things that can be brought on by MS. Don't smoke. There's strong evidence that tobacco smoking is as bad for MS as it is for your heart and for your lungs. So we encourage everyone with MS to stop smoking as part of their wellness plan and get a good night's sleep. Sleep is really important. It might make a big difference in fatigue. And when patients come and they say they're fatigued, we're going to be talking right away about how's their sleep. What can we do to help them to sleep better? And then healthy nutrition. I'm sorry that I put that at the bottom of the list. It probably should be higher up. But healthy nutrition is really important. Unfortunately, we don't know enough about healthy nutrition, what that really means. So the National MS Society had a think tank get together, and they talked about what does wellness mean, where should we be prioritizing, and they broke it down into three components: exercise, emotional wellness, and nutrition. They said there's a lot of other things that could go into wellness, but that's where they want to focus. And they recognize that there's been a lot more work done on exercise than there has been in the other two areas, diet and emotional wellness. And we need to do more in that in those areas. How might diet affect MS prognosis and outcome? Well, there may be direct effects on inflammation from dietary factors. There may be effects on cellular metabolism, perhaps an antioxidant effect. There may be effects on the gut microbiome, and what would that mean? Our guest speaker, Dr. Casper, is going to discuss that. Certainly, a diet could have an effect on the occurrence of comorbidities, including cardiovascular problems, which could affect the outcome. And then there may be other mechanisms that we don't know. It could be that micronutrients or other elements of diet have an important part to play in moderating the effects of MS, but we need to learn more about that. So a few minutes ago, I showed the slide with all these studies, clinical trials that are going on in the world, about 400 in MS. Well, I was able to find 6 that were in nutrition, that were randomized controlled trials that are active right now. So that's a little lopsided there. We've got to get more funding for research in nutrition in MS. But this is what I came up with from that website. So there's a study going on at Mount Sinai in New York looking at foods high in polyunsaturated fatty acids, polyphenols, and antioxidants. Their outcomes are looking at certain antioxidant type levels, carotenoid and fatty acid levels. There's a study comparing the Swank diet, which is a very low-fat diet, to the Wahls diet, which is a Paleolithic type diet with some other features. And their outcome there is fatigue. There is a high sodium versus low sodium diet study being done at Yale, and they're looking at some immune markers to just see, does it look like there are immunological changes that are brought on by high sodium versus low sodium in people with MS. And then at Johns Hopkins, they're doing a smartphone app study for food consumption. We're looking to see if a application is effective for weight loss. And then overseas, there is a study in France where they're looking at just simple dietary consultation about calcium, see what changes are derived for calcium intake. And then a study in Germany where they're looking at prolonged fasting and a ketogenic diet with an outcome being quality of life. You may recall last year, Dr. Picchio from Washington University, St. Louis, was speaking about her interval fasting diet as a treatment for multiple sclerosis. And I didn't see her study on the website right now, so I think they might either have run out of funding for that, or they're kind of reorganizing and have taken it down for the time being. They said it was really hard to get people to volunteer for that study. Interval fasting, people didn't want to do that. what diets are people with MS using? There was a study looking at NARCOMS data. NARCOMS is a registry that you could all participate, those of you with MS, where they send out surveys on a regular basis. You complete those surveys, and they do all kinds of interesting research based on that. So there was one survey about nutrition, came out in 2015 with over 7,000 respondents, and here's what we learned, that 44% of people reported that they were on or had previously been on some sort of diet, and the most common current diet was a gluten-free diet. And over half of the people who were doing a gluten-free diet said that they were doing that because of MS. They thought that that might be effective for MS, not necessarily that they had a gluten allergy. The most prevalent previous diet, this sort of makes sense, was a weight loss diet, because that's what diets are mostly about in our country, is weight loss. And 10% cited that as being the reason for being on a weight loss diet. Other diets that came up in the survey were the SWINK diet and the Wahls protocol. But there are other diets that people are using that just have a lower level of presence at this time. So what can we say about healthy nutrition for MS? Here's a consensus statement, I think. First, at this point, there is no MS diet. We're not there yet. We need to do more work to be able to confidently say this is the dietary approach that someone should take. We can say avoid a bad diet. What does that mean? Most of us kind of have a sense, if you, mother's advice, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute, but no bad dieting, okay? Eat mostly plants. I was thinking when my son plays this video game, it's Plants versus Zombies, and the plants are the good guys. The zombies are the bad guys. So plants are good. Eat plants. Eat moderate proportions. Less is more. And choose a heart-healthy diet. That's what I fundamentally tell people, is that the brain is an organ, the heart is an organ. We've learned a lot from research about healthy diets for the heart. And, for example, the Mediterranean diet, low-sodium diet. So if it's healthy for your heart, it's probably healthy for your brain and for MS. There is a directive from the U.S. Department of Agriculture about healthy eating patterns. I'm not going to go through all of this, but I just want to point out they do get into a healthy eating patterns limits. Here's the bad diet stuff. Limits saturated fats and trans fats, added sugars, and sodium. So we've got a lot to learn, and we need to bring it together quite a bit more so that it's something that we can, that the healthcare providers can explain and advocate for, and that people can figure out and follow. Like I referred to the Tarry Wahls diet. Well, one problem with that diet is it's very expensive and very time-consuming to follow. So we'd like to have simple ways to get it done. Thank you very much. All right. Well, and now I want to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Lloyd Casper, who is a professor of microbiology and immunology at Dartmouth. He lives in Vermont, but commutes to Dartmouth, which is in New Hampshire. He's a doctor of many hats. He also lives half-time in Taos, New Mexico. Hope they're having good weather there right now, not getting affected by that hurricane that's coming up. Probably not. It's a little ways too far away, yes. So he is really, I think, perhaps the